What's up, everybody? Trey Lewellen here with Kommerce Kings podcast with one of the guys who I totally envy and has literally changed my life. Like, if you listen to any of the podcast interviews that I'm on, this dude always comes up, which is Rob Kosberg. So welcome, Rob,
Thanks,
to the show.
Nothing but love for you, man. Good to be on with you.
So just so everybody understands who this guy is. This is the Rob Kosberg, okay? This is the water bottle Rob Kosberg is who this is. So just a real quick synopsis of what the hell that all means is I was sitting in Palm Springs, Florida, right?
Yep.
Rob Kosberg is over to my left. We're in this house, and there was 12 or 18 of us. I don't know, somewhere in there.
12-ish.
12-ish, and everybody had to go around the room and talk about their goals and, like, how much money they were going to make that month. I was the peon in the room, and they made me go last. So these guys are over here, $300,000 this month, $1 million this month, $60,000 this month. And then it comes to me, and I'm like, 5,000, 5,000, everyone. And I just felt so bad. And Rob, bless his heart, he looks over me and he goes, well, okay, so what are you going to do to become bigger and greater? And, like, what are you going to go do? And he's like, well, how much are you spending on Facebook right now? I said, $10. I was the dude. I'm the dude in the forums, in the Facebook forums, right? Like, I've spent $10 and no sales. I was that guy. And you go, well, if you want to make it to your next level, which in my case, it was $5,000 and then 15. And then my overarching goal was like $60,000. You said, how are you going to get to 15? And I said, well, I probably should spend more money on Facebook. And you go, that's right. How much are you going to spend on Facebook? And I said, well, I could probably go from $10 to $20 a day. And your response, let's see how well I got it, because I've told this story a lot now. Let's see. This is how I remember it. This is you. Whoa. Is that right?
Maybe. I don't know.
That's how I remember.
I didn't think it was that exaggerated, but yeah. I mean, I did make a big show of it. I think I did.
It was a pretty big show. I felt like even small. I felt peon already, and then it was just like, pew.
That was not my goal. That was not my goal, man.
It was a great goal. I'm glad you did it, because it makes for a great story, and it changed my entire life. Because I went back, because after you did that huge thing, I can't believe I asked this. I was like, should I go to 30? And you're just like, no, try 100, try 1,000. And I was like, wow, like, this is crazy, like, to spend more than $10 a day. And I went back, and over the next 4 months, we had our biggest months ever. And then we did $117,000 in 14 days. It was in the month of May. And we sold, I don't even know what that equates to. It was somewhere like 20,000 or 30,000 shirts, just because of that 4 month, 1 day, 1 period of time where it is the water bottle drop is really what happened. So I very much highly appreciate you.
Oh, dude, I love you. You've become like a dear, trusted friend, an advisor. You have, outgrown me massively. Hey, look, any little element as part of your story, I'm honored, man. I'm honored.
You're a big part of it. You're an absolute massive part. So this is not to talk about me and my craziness. This is all about you, because that's more important. So you're doing what? You're doing the publishing, right? The book publishing, writing a book, which everybody needs to do. But I don't understand how people write it so fast. I am just overwhelmed when someone like Grant Cardone or Russell Brunson are like, yeah, I just finished writing my book. I was like, how? You're on Instagram daily, you're on YouTube daily, you're on Facebook daily, you're running your business, and then you wrote a book in your spare time. Like, did you play with your kids? Like that, those are the questions. So I'm assuming you probably have the answers of how to do that.
I do. Would you like some of them? Or
yeah, let's hear it, because I want to know the secrets.
Look, I mean, we all have two things to work with when it comes to resources. We have time, we have money, right? Mm-hmm. And people that don't have money think that money is the most important and precious resource, right? But the truth of the matter is, we know what the real precious resource is. It's time, because time you can never get back, right? So, what I tell clients or potential clients is, look, you're either going to go and figure all this stuff out on your own and invest all your time to do it, or you're going to have to pay somebody to help you to do it. And so we kind of step in and fill the gap. People still need to invest time, but honestly, with our company, they only need 90 minutes a week over a period of about 3 months, and we can get all the content out of them. We can do it faster if they'll give us more time than that. But, you know, when you have a structure and you know what needs to be done first, second, third, fourth, then it's not overwhelming. If you're trying to figure it all out yourself and go from nothing to this, then it's a nightmare, right? You don't know where to begin. You don't know where to end. And so it's not all that difficult for someone who's done it hundreds of times. Anyway,
when you don't have tasks, you create procrastination. You become a master at procrastination.
You do. Absolutely. You just don't get started because it's overwhelming, right? It's like,
totally is.
It's overwhelming. Where do I begin? Right. You don't know where to begin. So either you're going to invest thousands of hours to figure it out yourself, which if you have no money, then that may be your only option, right? Or you're going to pay somebody that can do it all for you. That's kind of the gap we fill.
So how many books have you published so far?
Over 500. I don't know the exact number, but it's over 500 now. Not to mention the authors that we're working with. I mean, we bring on about 20 to 30 new clients every single week. I just got off a telephone call. New client got started in Cyprus. That's a new country for us. I've never done a book for a client in Cyprus. So, you know, I'm up to like 16 different countries now we've done books in. So that's pretty cool.
That's amazing. So, okay. So that's cool. And then how many of those have become a bestseller?
Dude, we're bestseller publishing, man. I mean, come on.
So are you like 500 for 500?
Yes, absolutely. I mean,
how is that even possible?
That's a good question. So it is, right? Because there's the scammy way to do it, the way I look at it, and then there's the real way to do it. So
what's the scammy way? Give me the scammy way first.
Okay, the scammy way is you can, you know, like find some kind of smaller, obscure category and call up 10 trusted friends and say, hey, at noon today, I'm listing the book at 99 cents. I want all 10 of you to buy it at the same time. And those 10 sales in that obscure category will bump you up for 1 hour to the bestseller list. Maybe you'll hit number 15 or number 8 or number 10 or whatever. There are whole conferences that go on where people pay $3,000. They get in a room with 70 other people, and they literally all buy each other's books for 99 cents, and they all hit bestseller for like an hour, right? Literally.
Oh my God.
I'm serious, dude. And I'm talking about a big time internet marketer does this.
Do they have like a big rave? Like at the end of that, like well, we just did 3,000 bestsellers in 1 hour.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. You know, look, they're deceived enough to feel real good about themselves.
Yeah.
As though that's real, right? As though that's real. Like 70 dudes that don't care a thing about your topic just bought your book for 99 cents. And the only reason they did it is because you bought theirs for 99 cents. So that's the scammy way to do it. And if you want to be a scammer and you're listening to this podcast, there you go.
There you go. Go to the rave conference, the best-selling rave conference.
Or find 15 friends, right? Or hire 15 people on Upwork or on Fiverr to buy your book for 99 cents. I mean,
there you go.
It's not real. It's not like anybody is going to read your book or is going to offer a real review of it. So that's the scammy way to do it. And because of that, it's gotten a little bit of a bad reputation, right? Because marketers like us ruin everything, right? We find the angle, we find the scam, and people go down that path. So what we do is different. I mean, we do a massive launch. You know, it's all about traffic, right? Ultimately. And so we do paid advertising on, 60 or 70 websites, big websites that get 1 million plus followers. We write the ads, we pay for the ads, we place the ads. We do a massive social media campaign. We do 3 national press releases to 1,000 media agencies over a period of a week. So we just basically bombard our clients' books with traffic over a week-long period. Because the way I look at it is, if you're going to hit the New York Times or you're going to hit the Wall Street Journal, that is a weekly list, not an hourly list, right? And so you got to be a bestseller for the week or you're not a bestseller at all. So that's the way we do it with our clients. We just, we know where to advertise. We throw a ton of traffic and money at it, and we hit bestseller for real.
So I guess the better question is how long were you a bestseller for? Is that a better question to ask bestsellers?
Yeah, I mean, it is and it's not, right? It depends on what someone does. So
Okay.
We can only guarantee what we do. And so our launch encompasses a week. And if you're a bestseller for the whole week, you're a bestseller, right? I mean, it's if you're on the New York Times bestseller list for just 1 week, baby, you're a New York Times bestseller. It doesn't matter. However, many of our clients will stay on the bestseller list for months and months. I launched this about 2 months ago, and I just checked it this morning, and it's still in the top 10 in its category right now. So it's still kind of officially on the bestseller list. But I talk about it, right? I do.
Who wrote that book?
That's me, baby. It's all me. Me and my writers.
You and your writers. I saw the Kosberg on there. I was like, oh, that's his own book.
That's my book, man. That's my book.
Oh, I like the title: Publish, Promote, and Profit. Bam.
Yeah. Look, I mean, it's. I'm most excited about this because I am like working on my free plus shipping funnel, and
okay.
And
we talked about that.
We did, yeah. I mean, I called you and asked for some advice, and I'm following the advice you gave me, and I'm probably 2 weeks out from launching it. So,
okay.
I mean, it is jam-packed. I hope it's going to crush right out of the gate, but if not, I'm going to be on the phone with you saying, dude, what do I do?
I don't know.
Should I go from $10 to $20 a day? What should I do?
Scale. Just,
right.
Put the jets on.
That's right.
It's crazy. Like that's what we're looking at right now is how do we become more aware? Like, oh man, what's his freaking name? I don't even have it up here. There's a really good book. It's like Become Noticeable in a Noisy World. That's not the right book title, but it's like Todd Duncan. No, it's not Todd Duncan. Shoot. He was a speaker at Todd Duncan's. Anyways, you're doing the same thing. Like what channels can we advertise on? Like there's obviously Facebook, YouTube, Google, Instagram, right? Those are your like top tiers.
Yeah.
But what if we started looking at all the tiers below that?
Yeah.
The keywords below that, right? Like everybody's focused on these big tiers as mass marketers, like everybody's Facebook, everybody's YouTube, everybody's Instagram. Those are like, that's the highest traffic sources. But then if you have those lower hanging fruit, maybe if these other sources, maybe there's even higher conversions or probably less targeting, but I don't know. Like, it's really interesting. Like, how do you become noisy, right? How do you become on a platform is really what you want to be. So I don't know. I'm just spitting game right now, but realistically with a free plus shipping book, I think that's an excellent idea. It'd be really cool. Are you going to do the Audible file as the order bump?
I got it all worked out. I can walk you through with it. At least this is our first iteration of it. So the initial bump is going to be a $37 Kickstarter course on how you can actually make money from your book before your book is written. Because I did a training with a client who paid us to do their book, but before the book was ever written, she did a Kickstarter thing and made like $52,000. So literally before the book was ever done. So we did this big training on it. So that's my order bump. I'm also going to do, I have 3 workbooks, a writing workbook, a marketing workbook, and a PR workbook that I'll include with the digital version of this. So that's all page 1 stuff. Then I have the audio version of the book along with like 4, it's very similar. Basically, I modeled Russell's .com secrets whole funnel.
Nice.
And so modeled that whole piece. So I got a $297. My one-time offer number 1 is $47, which includes the audio version. My one-time offer number 2 is $297, and it's like $3,000 worth of value. I do a live coaching call every week to my clients, and I have like 2.5 years of archives that I'm basically packaging up. So it's all that stuff. We'll see how it goes, but I'm pretty excited about it.
That's going to be excellent. Dave Woodard did a really good podcast interview of that funnel.
Did he really?
Yeah, you should look that up because he went through the numbers and how much they made on each step.
Awesome. And when was this? Any idea?
Nope. It was just it's on their ClickFunnels podcast is where it's at.
Great.
Which is really cool. I feel like this is by the way that I forget that we're doing a podcast because this is how we usually like just talk anyways. We're just
This is totally how we talk.
having a conversation. And I totally forget that I'm interviewing you. So all right. So how did you even get into the book? Like, why did you even think that you were worthy of doing this? Or how'd you become entitled to be a best-selling author?
Yeah, I mean, I backed into it.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, you know some of the story. I mean, I owned a pretty good sized real estate mortgage closing company in Florida.
Yep.
We were doing about 100 million a year in transactions, over 100. And I had a business partner in that. We were totally crushing it. I owned a lot of real estate that I was invested in at that time.
What's crushing it? What's crushing it mean?
Well, 100 million in sales was about, 3.5, 4 million in personal income to me.
So you split it between you and your partner? Okay.
Yep.
That's really good.
And that doesn't include, we did like some real estate coaching stuff. I was doing some speaking. So it doesn't even include any of that. Just our 3 main businesses, which were, doing great. More money than I had ever made, certainly up until that time. And I was quick to spend it too, let me tell you.
What'd you spend it on? What'd you spend it on?
Oh, you name it, man. I lived in an 8,000 square foot house in an equestrian center. I had a vacation home on the golf course and next to the ski slope in North Carolina. I traveled the world. I owned a, $150,000, 700 horsepower car, motorcycles, you name it, kids in private school. I've been married a long time. Dude, I mean, there's plenty to spend it on. Are you kidding?
All right. That's where that went.
It was fun, man. It was super fun. Right up until the time it wasn't. I don't tell this part of the story a lot, but we would go to art auctions and I bought, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of art and stuff. And I can remember when,
I didn't know that.
when the business closed down and I had poured like hundreds of thousands of dollars into savings to save the business because like it's real estate, right? I mean, how can it keep going down?
Is this the 08 crash?
This is 07 and 08. That's right.
Oh, okay.
And so, I'm not making any money. I'm pouring it all back in now to keep, I had, 25 employees and I'm propping everything up and just pouring, bleeding cash.
Holy
right
smokes.
until the time I closed it. And I closed it in beginning of 2008. And, I had 30 computers and phone systems, and I'm literally on Craigslist selling that stuff for 5 cents on the dollar, right? And getting the cash. Like I need something, right? I got no income. I've poured my savings into it. And I can remember like that Christmas, I was still trying to figure it out. I guess I'll get to, you asked, okay, how'd you become a best-selling author, right? I failed miserably. That's how. All
right.
And I can remember, that Christmas, we're still living in, my 8,000 square foot house and all this stuff. But that Christmas, I don't know that I've ever told anybody this. I took art off the wall and sold it to like pay rent, buy Christmas presents. Now, I thank God I had that art, right? But I sold it for 10 cents on the dollar, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of stuff. I'm like taking off my wall to buy my kids Christmas presents. It was, look, that's a first world problem, right? I wasn't homeless and I wasn't eating out of a garbage can, but it was humbling and embarrassing and painful and scary and all of that stuff. So
you probably didn't do a Facebook Live on that.
I don't think there was Facebook Live at the time, but I wouldn't have. No.
Thinking of my $100,000 art to buy Christmas gifts for my kids this year.
Yeah. I got $8,000 for it, cash. So, right? Talk about that's the time to buy, man. When there's as Buffett and others say, when there's blood in the streets. And I was the one bleeding. I was selling stuff for pennies on the dollar, and I was on the wrong end of that. Great lesson.
I've been in those situations too, in there. It's not like I'll never be in that situation again. It just happens. Like we're entrepreneurs. We go up and down. Like it's, we're here. We're pogo sticks.
Yeah.
We kind of go up hills a little bit, but where was the turnaround? Like, where did you, cause like you're feeling defeat your mind, like when I'm in those positions, my mind just like goes numb and I can't even like concentrate. Where I found in order to concentrate, I need like stability in my life. Like I need daily standards that I'm doing, like waking up, working out, eating correctly. And then I can start to think a little bit more because there's clarity. And then there's like just organization, I guess.
Right.
So how did you, like, it sounds like you're like, so how did you flip it?
I'll give you like the internal answer and the external answer, right?
Okay.
Because some of what you just said is internal stuff. How do you clear your mind? How do you do all that, right? So my morning routine is really important to me, probably like yours is, right? I get up early. But my morning routine is important because, I'm a spiritual person. So, even through the good times and the bad times, man, I'm in prayer. I'm trying to get centered. I'm trying to find peace outside of the circumstances, whatever the circumstances are. Even when things are going well and, I do a 15-minute phone call and make $30,000 or whatever, I still need to be centered because tomorrow that may not happen and who knows. So that was, there's no question that was the most, devastating personal time of my life. It was really, really challenging. And so I needed my personal relationship with God, my spirituality, my time in prayer internally to like survive because I had to keep going, right? I have a wife that's counting on me. I have kids that are counting on me. I have, others that are counting on me to like figure this out and get my butt in gear and be successful. Now the external turnaround was through coaching and mentorship. I had a couple of different mentors. One of them being Dan Kennedy, GKIC. I'd been a part of GKIC forever and ever. Still a part of it. I got his newsletter somewhere on my desk right here, right? One of his latest ones, right? I was repositioning myself out of real estate into financial services, which is about the same thing, honestly. And I needed to like have some authority and credibility in the space. And I asked a couple of mentors, hey, what would you do if you were in my position? And they both said I should write a book, and including Dan Kennedy. And so I started writing a book. In fact, book's right there on my bookshelf. And I made a lot of mistakes, and it took a lot longer than I expected because I had some money, but more time than money, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, I ended up losing about $1 million because of all the time it took. But that book like took off. It did really well, became a bestseller. I started getting opportunities to be on the radio, not TV immediately, but on the radio. And then that book in conjunction with radio like blew up my business. It went from $0 to $1 million in income in a year. And this is 2009 when the economy was still awful in 2009. So my business is like exploding on the fast track. The next year it went to multi-millions. And people started coming to me asking, how are you doing it? Everyone else is struggling. Why are you successful? And I'm like, I wrote a book. And so people started asking me if I could help them with their books. Literally that's how it happened. It was totally organic, totally. And I was like, I don't know if I can help you. Maybe I got lucky, right? Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, and so I just started helping people and kind of fell in love with it. That's kind of when we met. I was still, partnered with Mark at that time. I sold my financial services company. I moved to California. This is 7 years ago. We've been friends for a long time.
I know.
Now, looking back, right? And that's when bestseller publishing took off. And I've been, riding that, and I love it. That's the external and the internal stuff.
I love it. So how many employees do you have? You said 25?
Then I have 12 full-time employees now.
Okay.
You're asking about BSP?
Yeah.
Yeah. 12 full-time employees now. And I have another dozen contractors that are, writers, editors, that kind of thing.
How'd you know who you had to hire first?
Also organic. When I first started this, I actually wasn't doing the book for people. I was like coaching them on doing the book, and then I was doing the marketing piece of it, the publishing and the marketing piece. So I started first with that element of it. I need somebody to help me with formatting and design and internet marketing stuff.
Yeah.
So my first employee 7 years ago was Steve, who's still with me. And Steve does, I mean, he does everything now. I mean, he's been running my Facebook traffic and Instagram stuff for years. I've basically took him out of college and have trained him on, this whole myriad of stuff. And so he was my first employee, but then we kind of, not including like a secretary, receptionist, kind of personal assistant. And then we started doing books for people, which meant I need great writers, so I'm in LA, so writers aren't that difficult. So it was kind of organic, and honestly, my business has been about the same size, give or take. I mean, maybe we're 25% over what we were last year, but it's about the same size, even though we could grow, but there's so much deliverable in my business. You know what I mean? It's not like growing. That's why the free plus shipping funnel is exciting to me, right? Like all of that deliverables are already built in. In my business, it's so service heavy that when I bring on 20 new clients, I know I've got 20 new books to do. And that's maybe 3 new writers and all that stuff. Anyway, you didn't ask that, but there you go.
Well, so that's an interesting concept. So you had your first hire, you had 12. And then the question is do you most people are like scale to the moon and become the biggest you can be and become this huge thing. So what keeps you from wanting to do that?
Maybe it's a combination of fear and just contentment, fear in that I had a bigger company with more employees, and, when it starts going south and I have a giant nut as it is now every month. Right. And if you got an even bigger one, I don't know. So there's a little bit probably of internal stuff there. I certainly don't hate money. Right. And, and so what I'm more geared towards is growing the scalable part of my business.
Okay.
I can scale bestseller publishing, but it is less scalable. It's harder to scale because of all of the employees that I need to do it. So I'm focusing more on the info products and the coaching and that element of it, which is more infinitely scalable.
Yeah. Okay. So you do what we do. We look at, we have 5 pillars in our business. And then what I do is I individually audit each pillar, and 2 of the 5 are high profit centers and the other 3 are little profit centers. So it would be wise to put more focus and direction towards these 2 massive pillars that are much more profitable than the 3 sectors. Right. And so it sounds like you're kind of wanting to do the same thing. Is where your profit centers are, you have a lot of workload in one of them, but your better ones, maybe the coaching or the outside gig, which is just an ascension ladder, I'm assuming.
Yeah, 100%. I think, sometimes there's a fine line between contentment and complacency, just to be really, really straight. I've been thinking about this stuff for myself internally. And I think, we always want to be content, right? You want to be content with what you have because, how many really, really wealthy people do you know or you've heard about that have all the money in the world, they could never spend it, and they're so unhappy and unfulfilled, and they lack contentment. I don't ever want to be there. But by the same token, I think I have, like all of us maybe, but certainly I have, a tendency also to get a little complacent. So, when it comes to the book offer, I was the first guy on Facebook, Instagram doing it, right? Like out of the gate. Blue ocean, first guy doing it. And so it was easy. And now we're 7 years down the road since you and I were in Adam's group and learning how to do this stuff. And it's a little, it's a red ocean now, right? And so our lead costs have gone up significantly. We're still really profitable, which is cool. But I've looked at my complacency and I've thought, you know what? I should have done a free plus shipping funnel 3 years ago. Not now. I should have done it, right when Russell was cranking it out. And you and I were in his group, and I've been in his group for 3+ years since the very, very beginning. It's like I've looked at all this stuff and I've gone, I don't need it. And I'm like, you know what? I needed it. I was just complacent and didn't do it.
Yeah, it's wild how that works. Is because I've always said to myself, 20. So realistically, 40 grand after taxes. So before taxes. 40 grand, 20 grand, in Missouri, you can do, I think I've told you that. And
Yes.
then you kind of came back to me and you're like, well, in California, you kind of need 40. And so realistically, you need to make 80. But I was like, well, I guess that's true. But, you can live a really nice life for that. You can go on vacations. You can live in a really nice house and have nice cars and have a great family. But I think you hit it on the spot, which is you can have all that stuff. You can have the biggest bank account that's bulging out the seams, but not be happy. And I think the difference is sometimes where you come as a background. So I don't necessarily know your background, but my background, like we lived nicely. We were middle class, $400,000-$500,000 house in St. Louis, which is a nice house. We went to public school. We didn't go to private school, but we had great Christmases. We had a great loving family. But I've always been like happy. That's what a lot of my friends would say in college is like, Trey's just always happy. And people come up to me like, why are you always so happy? Which is kind of like, I don't know, like because I am. That's a really hard question to answer.
Right. Shouldn't I be?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. And I tell Jen this all the time is it doesn't matter what house we live in or what cars we have. Those aren't going to grab us happiness. They might make you happy for a day. It might make you happy for a week, the diamond ring she wants. Like, yes, you want it. You're focused on it, but it's going to make you happy, for a week or two, but then it's on to the next. So you have to be happy in your own self, in your own place, because none of that other stuff is really going to, it's just, she said it last night, actually, it just adds a little bit of cream or the cherry on the top, right? Yeah. It's a bonus is really it is. It's not going to ever spring your happiness, which I think a lot of people lose or think that they have. Jim Carrey said it pretty well. He goes, I wish everybody could be famous and rich. Yeah. To see that it's not what it's cracked up to be.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen that video. It's awesome.
Oh, where he does the interview?
Yeah. Yeah. Where he's got the giant beard and yeah. It looks like a crazy homeless dude.
Yeah. He's a super hippie now. Like he's a super hipster. It's hilarious. But I think I love how you say that. So, so taking that a little bit further, if you want, which is, going deeper into that is, okay, so I can be complacent and I can be content. And am I okay with that? Do I sleep okay with that? Am I questioning myself? Is that okay? Because there's the fear factor of losing it all, but you've already lost it all. And you understand that you can come back because you have.
Yeah. I'm still terrified of it though. I mean, that's my point. My point is, I have this, I'm similar to you. I think it's why we get along so well. I'm a happy guy. Life is great. People ask me, how you doing? I'm like, I'm doing great. You're always doing great. It's not like everything's always going great in my life and my business, but
must be great to be Rob. He's always great.
Yeah. It's just, I think some of that is maybe genetic and deep within. I think some of it is also spiritual base and foundation.
Yeah.
But where that can be a little dangerous is when that bleeds into complacency in your business, because, there's a bunch of, killer sharks swimming around our markets that are they just want to eat our lunch. And I do think for me, that's like the whole free plus shipping thing. I should have done it a few years ago. Now I'm like laser focused on it. We have to, I think, balance those two. I don't want to be complacent. I don't want to be the complacent guy in my business and just take it for granted. But I do want to be the content guy. Like, life is good, man. I'm happy. I'm blessed. So it's a balance.
Every time I see you at an event, you and Kevin Hoot are just smoking a cigar, loving life. I'm like, damn, those guys.
It is true.
It's true. If you ever go to any event and you eat a cigar or you smell a cigar, it's more likely Kevin and Rob Kosberg just chilling out and having a good old time. So that's really interesting, which I love. So, okay, let's think a little bit in a different way. What's in that case is what would you say is freedom? What would be freedom to you then? Do you live in freedom?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally do. For me, freedom is not free from work or even free from anxiety. That's life. That's you're above ground. You know what I mean? For me, it's more a freedom of decision and being able to guide my life and live my life the way I personally decide to. Yeah. And I love to work. I love what I do. And so freedom for me within work is doing the kind of work that I want to do, that fulfills me, that gives me, a sense of purpose and passion. So, and then that includes all the myriad of things below it. Freedom to live where I want to live. I live in a ridiculous place. Los Angeles is ridiculously expensive. I am sure I could live for $300,000 or $400,000 in St. Louis for what this house, which is about $3.5 million, is. It's not. I don't live in an extravagant place. I don't. I mean, it's about 3,000 square foot. It's 100 years old. It's on maybe a half an acre. It's got a pool. It's a nice place, but it's a ridiculous place to live. So, will I live here for the rest of my life? Probably not. But there's a freedom. Like, I make enough money to live here. And this is where I want to be right now.
Yeah. So, and that's funny how that works is, I'm on a Jim Rohn kick right now. And so I love listening to him, Tony Robbins coach kind of deal. And it's interesting where he says, if you had to go get rich, there are books and audio tapes that are going to show you the way. If you had to, right? Yeah. It's if you want to, which makes you read the books and watch the videotapes. It's interesting. Like, well, I'll have one of my employees come up and they'll be like, hey, how do you run this Facebook ad? Like, maybe it's in the Facebook niche. And this is what I do is I go and grab some sort of bag or a box and I put it down the side and I say, if there was $1 million in this box or $1 million of gold plated bricks in this box, and you get that if you figure out the question you just asked me. Do you think you could solve that without asking me? They're like, oh, I could totally solve that. There you go.
There you go.
There you go. So it's like that. And it's just leading. It's just perception, right? Of how they think and where they're focused, and just showing them that they can figure out the answer themselves, but they're taking the easy route out, which is asking a superior or going up to another piece. I had a lady, frantically running my office the other day. She's like, our phone system's down. I was like, oh my gosh. Right. So like that takes me out of focus, what I'm focusing on. And I just had to stop for a minute. I'm like, well, first off, did you call customer support yet?
No, I didn't call AT&T. I mean,
no, I didn't call any of those people. I went straight into the CEO's office. I went straight to the top, right? Like, he's got to have the answer. So it's like, well, hold on, let's take it through the motions. And if you can't figure out anything and no one else has figured out anything, does not know the answer, then come to me. So it's all about training, right? So I'm in this training position of that's why my door revolves a lot. I've trained everybody just to come ask me because I apparently have all the answers. Where now it's like, no, I want you coming to me with solutions. And hey, here's the problem, but here's 3 solutions that we just had. So as you're building this company, what are your goals? Like, what do you want to do with the company? Personal goals? Like, do you want to move into a $6 million house? Like, what's next?
I'd say, when it comes to a goal for me, like that question, for example, I don't want to just be flippant and throw something out unless I feel like really strongly. I have a couple of behind the scenes goals of where I want to see bestseller publishing get to, what I want it to create, as far as income wise and that sort of thing. But I'd say the bigger things, like the stuff that's expressible, is I want the employees that I have, which, are more than employees, like these people, like I support their families, you know what I mean? Like I know their children. A few of them I go to church with and I see them on the weekend. I want to create stability and success for them. Like the thing that I think that drives me, of course, is I want that for my family. And that, every now and then I still get a terror waking up wondering about 2008 and when the next shoe is going to drop and all that stuff, right? That just happens. Welcome to life. But I think on a day-to-day basis, it's more like I got to keep this thing rolling and I've got to make this thing successful, because I don't ever want to be the guy that causes instability in their life. Does that make sense? Now that's not as sexy as saying I want BSP to be doing $1 million a month and I want to sell it for $100 million in the next 5 or 7 years, which those are things that I'm interested in too. But that's not like my day-to-day reality. My day-to-day reality is dealing with those people, working with them, loving them, like seeing them in their challenges with their children and their families and praying for them. And you know what I mean? That's like my real life, if that makes sense.
It's kind of, so I do this sometimes, is when obviously you have an office, so you have employees that drive to your work.
Yep.
And so going out there, you can see all the cars, and realistically, you have all those cars. You're paying for all those cars.
Yeah.
Realistically. And it shows the volume of your business.
Yeah.
Right. Because in my life, I'm like, oh, well, we got 2 cars. That's, common. That's natural. Like, I wouldn't want any more. But if you think about as a company wide, you have, let's say you have 10 employees, you have 12. So you have 12 employees, you have 12 homes, you have maybe 24 cars now that your company is creating and pushing through. Pretty wild, isn't it?
Well, it's wild and it's terrifying, right? I mean,
got 24 car payments.
It's right. I mean, on one end of it, as a business owner, everyone expects to be paid every other Friday, and like that stuff's clearing the account. But on the and that's just the reality of it. And that's like, people look at business owners that are successful and are like, oh, you got it good and life's good. And you can come when you want and go when you want. And I'm like, yeah, not really. I mean, on the other hand, I look at them as people, right? And as people that have become my friends. And I'm like, man, they're worried about their children. They're trying to have a successful marriage. I have multiple employees that make more than 6 figures, right? Which sounds like a lot of money, but in California it's less, right? We've already discussed that, but it is still a lot of money. And I'm like these people count on me completely to be making the right decisions, to be leading this company in the right way. And that, so when it comes to goals, it's like that. I mean, what's really bigger than that? That's the people stuff, right?
That's you're changing lives, letting people, and I think it's the work environment. So let's hit on 2 things, and we got to end this thing because this has been great. This is like literally, this is a freaking Rob and Trey conversation. Which
totally is.
But so 2 pieces. The first piece, I lost my sidetrack thought. But the first piece, which is the employees, which is notating back and forth. The question I had would be, has there ever been a point where that you've lost money or you've decided not to take a paycheck in order to pay the employees?
Oh my gosh.
I think you've already answered that because you said you're taking down pieces of wall art to go and pay them.
Oh, I mean, even with Bestseller Publishing, I have, and you've done this, certainly, I have taken money out of my savings account to put it into the company so that not only have I not taken a paycheck, I've reinvested into the company to make sure that payroll and everything is taken care of. Why? Because there are cash flow issues and I'm not going to go into debt. I'm not getting credit lines or any of that kind of stuff. And so I have my own credit line, right? My own savings and all of that. So yes, 100%.
You have to be a savvy entrepreneur or a savvy business person to even have cash.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you're, let's take it back to 2006 where you're just spending money on homes and stuff, maybe the cash, it sounds like you're stuffing cash too. So you're making all kinds of great money, but some people might go spend it and not cash it, right? Not save the cash. And I think a big misconception of entrepreneurship is me first kind of type of attitude of pay me, I get paid first and then my employees and then my, overhead and my structure get paid. And that's not the case all the time. Yeah. From what I'm learning, right? Sometimes like there's been times in our periods where I've gone 6 months without a paycheck.
Sure.
Because I have to balance it all. I'm like, I can't take a paycheck because we got to balance the company and reinvest in the company. And I'm taking money from here and pushing it into here and reinvesting. But the thing is in my head, here's what's going on in my head, right? Like, we're all doomed, right? Like we're all so screwed. You guys don't even know right now. And it reminds me, it was in a very bad point in my life where I was sitting down on a couch and Liam was there and we're watching Home, the Disney or Pixar movie Home, where the boobs come in, the purple boobs. Yeah. And there's the master boob and he's talking on a microphone. He's talking to all the channels in the world. And he's talking to like the Borg is coming and he's going to destroy the earth. And that's where they're living. And he's talking, he's like, it's fine. Like, we're going to destroy him. We're going to move. And then the little booth goes, and cut. And like, and then he just pretty much throws everything. He goes, and we're doomed. Like, because he knows they're going to die. So he's just trying to like keep everybody at peace. Like, you guys are good. And as soon as the air cuts, he's just like, we are so screwed. And I'm like, and I totally related at that exact moment. I was like, that is me right now. Like, I'm just like, we're all doomed, so doomed. And just, you got to keep everybody at peace though. So that's the first piece. And the other piece would be, so for entrepreneurship and being a CEO and just an owner, the other cool piece about a business, and this is a fun one, is when an employee actually makes more than you on a monthly or as a salary basis. And they don't know, right? They don't know. Yeah. But they're making more than the CEO. And I think that's so cool because one, that's pretty cool because that gives yourself an ego. Make sure you don't have an ego, right? Because you can really get into an ego problem if that's the case. Like, oh, well, you don't even know you're making more than me, or you don't even know I'm paying you more than what I even make or take home. So it's just interesting to see. So how do you handle that? Like, how do you see that? Like, have you experienced both?
I have, yeah. I've totally experienced both. Obviously, no one's going to make more money than you as the owner of the company, unless the company is failing and it needs to be shut down like mine was back in 2008. Mm-hmm. But I've certainly gone through months where I've paid out employees and not only have they made more than me, but, I've put money back in the company. Mm-hmm. It's like there's that old story of, I think it was actually Donald Trump. Went through one of his bankruptcies early back in the day. I think it was in the 80s, and he walked out of court and there was like a homeless dude. And he's like, you got more assets than I do right now, or you have more money on you than I do right now. And so there is that element, right? When you're going through that, but I don't know that to me that like, I never feel a sense of ego or pride or anything. I just feel a sense of duty and obligation. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't worry as much about me. Like you'll always make money, right? I mean, you know how to do it. You've learned the things necessary. You've learned the skills as I have. And so I could pivot. I could pivot into something else, and I think take care of myself and do what is necessary, like I've done in the past. Yeah. So I don't worry about that as much as I think about how hard is it going to be for this guy to replace a 6-figure income? How hard, in a bad economy, who's going to be writing that paycheck for this skill set? You know what I mean? Where it's really valuable to me. So I always think more of, how are we going to make more money? Obviously I'm going to take what I want from it. I'm going to take what I can, maybe not what I want, but what I can. Yeah. And overall, that's going to be fine, right? I mean, we're always going to make more. We're always going to have that as the opportunity. So it's more about having the right people on the bus, people that you're vested in, I think.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. So you hit on it is, someone who's a millionaire or made a million or become a multimillionaire. Perry Belcher said it on stage one time. He goes, someone who goes bankrupt as a millionaire will become a millionaire again in less than 2 years, because you hit it, right? You got the skills, you already know how to get there. You know what it takes, you know how to set yourself up for that. So you can be there, you can bounce back, right? You might have to go through some hard times, but Tony, my business partner, talks about it all the time. Yeah. He goes, we'll face ups and downs, of course, through our years together. But the thing is we will always keep trending upwards, right? Like there'll never be a point where you make less than you do now, because you have the skill sets. Now there might be a year or a 2 year that you go through like this term, but you're going to be back up. And so an average course is you're always going the right direction. So before we hit
behind, good to me.
What's that? Yeah, sounds good to me, right? Sounds like a great plan. Sounds like a fantastic plan. Let's just stick
it does.
The one thing I want to hit right before we go is so you've been in the world of spend cash, buy houses, buy a nice car, do all that stuff, and then now maybe you're still doing that. What do you do with your cash? Like, are you investing? Do you have real estate still? Are you just putting it in the bank and putting back in the business? What's your biggest?
So two things I think I'm doing differently. One is I value buy. So I have a convertible Maserati Gran Turismo. It's a $150,000 car. but I bought it a couple of years old after it had depreciated, $80,000. And so it's got, 10,000 miles on it. It's like brand freaking new. It's spectacular. I bought it. I have a Harley. I bought a 2-year-old Harley. It's got 115 miles on it. It's beautiful. It's spectacular. But so I value buy. In the past, I bought cars brand new. And I mean, as soon as I drove them off the lot, it depreciated by 40%. Mm-hmm. I bought a brand new SL600 Mercedes Rentec, 645 horsepower. By the time I got that thing home, I had lost like 50 grand on it. Right. And so I don't do that anymore. I do still invest in real estate. I also try to be smart. I'm 10 years older than I was back in 2008, right? So I do need I am thinking more about passive income and cash flow. So I've always believed in real estate. I still own rental real estate and am investing in real estate. And I'm also I have a couple of cool investment dudes that help me with I can't remember what it's called. In the insurance space probably a lot better than I do, but it's the kind of insurance that you can buy that you can also over invest. And so it has a cash value that you can borrow against. It's kind of the
banking on yourself is what
infinite banking concept, right? Yeah. The infinite banking. So I have a couple of policies that I'm investing in every single month, tens of thousands of bucks a year, and then using that money in other ways while it continues to earn me interest. And about the only thing I don't do, I own some cryptocurrency because I am a big believer in that long term, but that's just kind of, fun to look at. But I'm not in the stock market. That's about the only thing. And
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
For the infinite banking thing, what's that all about? Like, do you own real estate homes, or are you in like a portfolio and then you're able to take it out of the portfolio?
Well, I just started this year, so it's new for me, but okay. What I've been told that I can do with it is everything that I'm overfunding, I can then borrow against and use that money and what I'm going to use it for is continue to invest in real estate. So, and then the real estate, the goal with that is the real estate will cash flow. It will pay back the loan to the insurance policy. While the insurance policy continues to earn, I think it earns 5% a year guaranteed. It's not. Oh,
so you did a whole life or a what's the other one?
Yeah, it's like a whole life infinite. Yeah, I can't remember all of what it's called. That's not my space. Yeah. But the guy that I work with, I met in Russell's inner circle, and he's the dude that was working with Mike Dillard when Mike Dillard was running his big financial advice thing.
Okay.
So, great trusted guys and guys that are doing it for themselves as well as for a lot of other folks. Happy to hook you up with them if you're interested.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what that name is. And so, and then so you overfund the insurance policy, which is you're getting dividends from that. And then you're taking the percentage. And when you say real estate, are you buying the houses or you're in a real estate portfolio?
No, buying the houses.
So you're playing landlord?
Yeah. Well, my dad actually has been in real estate for 40 years. So he manages real estate for us.
Oh, so he's your manager. Okay.
Yep.
So you're buying homes. Where do you buy homes at?
Florida, South Florida. It's where I own rental property now. And that's where at the moment, maybe not in South Florida, but somewhere in Florida will be my next purchases as well.
Okay. Like $300,000 homes?
Don't think of it as homes. Think of it as more as units. So,
so you're buying complexes.
Well, 4 units.
Okay.
At the moment, I haven't gone beyond residential. So, 4 units is the most that we have right now. So these are in good, solid areas, but it's all about cash flow.
So they're more than 300 grand then. They're probably like, what, 700?
In South Florida, it's, at the height, it was probably 700-800, but it still hasn't come back to the height. I don't know what the value of it is right now, but it's probably $500,000-600,000 for 4 units.
Are you doing loans on those, or are you doing cash?
No, loans. Yeah, doing loans.
And then you cash flow through?
Yep.
What percentage do you like to see your cash flow to loan ratio?
Ask me that question differently. I don't totally know what you mean.
So basically,
you mean like I want 10% rents based on the purchase price kind of thing? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like if I'm going to have $400,000, do I want $200,000 cash in the house and then $200,000 in loans? Like a 50-50 is usually the case, but
no, it's less than that. I'm happy at 25% down, 30% down.
Okay.
It all really depends on the cash flow of the units. That's the
Right.
real key. And of course, with the interest rates that we have right now, you can cash flow pretty well on the units. So I'm in the past, I was worried about equity. But when real estate dropped 60% in South Florida, there was no equity to worry about. It was all gone. Like everything I thought I had disappeared, like it never existed, right? So now I don't think about that anymore. I think instead about cash flow. And as long as it cash flows, the equity will always take care of itself. It'll pay itself off eventually, 10 years, 15 years, whatever. That's the goal for us.
So then, have you ever played cash flow?
No, I've never played that game.
Oh, it's so good. You need to. Maybe we'll play it. Maybe we'll play it while we're smoking cigars at the next event.
I'd love to, man. I can't wait to see you, buddy.
I'll bring it in. Okay. Well, hey, this has been great. So how do they write a book? How do they find you? What's the easiest way? And then we'll go behind the scenes. Yeah,
I'd probably say reach out on social media to me, or I'll just give you my email address as well, rob@bestsellerpublishing.org. Just reach out to me, say that you're a friend of Trey's or whatever. And I have author development coaches and sales guys that do the sales calls, but anytime somebody's referred like directly to me, I talk to them myself. And I actually have a call right now. So.
Oh, there you go. All right. Well, you got to go.
I do. All right. I love you, buddy. You mean the world to me, man. You're like a brother to me. I respect you. Appreciate you so much.
Absolutely. See you, man.
See you, buddy.
Bye.